All right, man, let's talk about a little bit of chaos in Canada. So, I don't know how familiar you all are with Canada and kind of how they conduct business up there. But there is starting to be a gaining distrust in the Canadian government on their handling of COVID. Unlike the United States of America, Canada did not politicize the issue. They did what we call follow the science, right? And with that, that meant that they were more comfortable being shut down and immediately getting the vaccine. Now, there are some who didn't, but for the most part, Canadians, they just, followed suit with what the government directed and, press on. But just like here in America, you get to your breaking point. And finally, you have some Canadians who are, ready to speak out or speaking out against their government. Why? Because truck drivers who crossed an international border coming into America are now required to be vaccinated in order to re-enter the country. Why? Because we said so. Now you can have your thoughts on the vaccine. I'm not here to argue that, but what I am here to talk about is just as things don't make sense, people begin to ask questions, and when those questions don't get answered, they lose trust. And just like we lose trust in the media because so many things that are being reported and presented to us don't make sense, the same thing is happening with our institutions. And I was listening to the Daily as they were covering this, and one of the big things that I got from one of the interviews was that hold on, was that the Canadians were getting restless, but more importantly, the ladies talked about how this isn't a left issue, it's not a right issue, and people are coming together, right? Or no, it was an emergence of a new party. Sorry. She said it's not a left issue or a right issue. She feels like there's going to be emergence of a new party. And I say, no, this isn't the emergence of a new party. This is real people. This is actually what happens when you talk to real people and you don't talk to people on the poles. If you talk to somebody on the North Pole and you talk to somebody at the South Pole, guess what? Their lives are totally different. But if you talk to somebody who's in Canada, you talk to somebody who's in America, and you talk to somebody who's in, I don't know, South America, I bet you can find more cultural similarities in those people than you can with the people at the polar opposites. And if you want to like crunch it down a little bit more, right? You take Canada and you take Mexico. We just look at North America, right? And then you got the United States in the middle. Now, the United States has some cultural similarities with Canada and some cultural similarities with Mexico. But I bet you the United States is more similar to Canada or Mexico, right? Than Canada and Mexico are to each other. Why? Because it's in the middle. It's the buffer. It's the people. So we should take the same approach to our politics. Most people are in the buffer zone. They're not in the polls. So when you start to think that, and that's why you can't trust polls because the people who are on the polls participate in polls, right? You're far left, you're far right. But this chaos, these protests that are happening by these truckers, and they're now being joined by other citizens in Canada who have lost their businesses, who are losing their livelihood. Why? Because they're tired of being locked down. They're tired of their kids being in the house. They want their kids to go out and have the opportunity to be back in school, to interact with their friends, to take off the mask, to have true human interactions, and they want the same for themselves. They want to open up their businesses. If you have a customer service business, you could lose it. The lady from the Daily who was in Canada conducting the interviews, she spoke about a Canadian yoga instructor who had a studio. He spent $500,000 on a studio. He's gone through half of his damn life savings, and he's lost almost everything because he can't open back up. At some point, something's got to give. And when it doesn't make sense and when the people grow restless, chaos ensues, and then they lose trust in the institution.